Welcome to Summer Solstice Day, which starts at 5:40 in the morning. It was painful to wake up at that hour, but I had to because I had to get my mug and my mojo ready to make sun water. As we know, the summer solstice is the day with the longest period of daylight in the entire year, so that makes it the perfect time to make sun water, which basically means making water absorb the power of the sun. Here's how this goes. You fill your mug with water, and then you connect your own energy to the water first, and then you connect the water to the sun like you're making a pipe, like a water pipe, leading it to the big celestial fireball, and you start a nice constant stream of energy from the sun all the way down into the water. You end this process by disconnecting your energy from the water, and you're leaving this outside for the entire day. It's important that you collect it before the moon comes up, and it doesn't really matter if the sun actually hits the water all day long or not. Or at least this is how I think it goes. I'm not 100% sure, and I just try things, and I ask for permission first, just in case the sun can smite my favorite mug. I would not want this beauty to shatter in a million pieces. I did that double clap out of nowhere with my very first spell, and I've kept on doing it since, but I have seen a similar thing in the past in Japanese religious practices, so maybe my brain simply used that to express what I needed. To me, it feels like the sound of a door closing and the handle snapping back into place. That was the first thing I did for the summer solstice right on the 20th of June. However, in Romanian tradition, we actually celebrate the summer solstice on the 23rd and 24th of June. Because of this year, not only did we celebrate the summer solstice, or in Romanian, Sânziene, or for the south of the country, Drăgaica, but also Rusalii and the Christian holiday, the birth of Saint John the Baptist. Romania has three big cultural influences when it comes to this holiday, starting off with the Roman influence from back when the Roman Empire invaded a territory called Dacia. Now, we don't have any records of Dacian traditions regarding the summer solstice, which is a shame, really, because the Dacians were very interesting. I mean, they were the wolf people, the Daoi, and think about it like this. Our first ever mentions of werewolves come from the Dacians. But that's for another video. So, the summer solstice, or Sânziene, coming from Latin actually meaning Sancta Diana. The entire celebration of the summer solstice being actually a way to honor Goddess Diana, the goddess of the hunt, fertility, and ironically, the moon. She is a symbol of fertility and the protector of virgins. So maybe you can see how the celebrations ended up being centered around the maidens or the girls of marriage age gathering flowers and dancing and singing and blessing the crops, the land, even other children. And this is why another important theme for these celebrations is marriage and finding your soulmate or your future husband. Now, the central piece of this holiday is actually the flowers called Sânziene, or Gaium Verum. They might have a completely different name in your culture. But the maidens would have to go out and gather these flowers, make them into flower crowns, and then come back to the village at nighttime. As the girls are coming back home, they can already do a little bit of divination. They can look through the hole of the flower crown, and according to whoever passes their field of vision right at that moment, they can find out attributes that their future husband might have. For example, if it's an older person, then maybe their future husband will be an older person as well. Or if it's a younger person, that means that their future husband would be youthful and energetic. Another way of divination is when they actually do get back home, they throw the crowns over their houses. If it lands on the roof, that is a sign of marriage. And of course, some of the flowers that they gather specifically the Cinziene, they can put them under the pillow at night, and it's believed that in the night in between the 23rd and the 24th, these maidens can dream their future husbands or soulmates. And I love divination, and I especially love working through dreams, because this has actually been more of a natural ability of mine, I could say. So what did I do? I wrapped up some dried Cinziene, that's the only type I had, in a cloth, put it under my pillow, and went to sleep. And I guess it's unfortunate to say, but I am apparently my own soulmate. The only thing I dreamed was me actually doing some spells. I will be married to witchcraft. Going back to the night in between the 23rd and the 24th of June, there is one more thing that people used to do, and that I decided to copy. Leaving out an object at night and then collecting it in the morning before sunrise while it is still full of morning dew. That morning dew is believed to actually be star water and to have protective qualities. After you have collected your trinket, your object, you put it in a white silk pouch, which I did not have, together with a lot of other herbs. Some of them are mugwort, rosemary, chamomile, bay leaves, any herbs with protective qualities. It's kind of like an infusion of energy into the objects, and this is how you are making essentially a protective object for yourself. Now, I'm not sure if back then they would do anything more than take the objects, shove them in the bag and forget about them, but I decided to modify this process a tiny bit, starting with smoke cleansing the bag. I did not have a silk bag. In fact, I did not have a white bag of any kind. So maybe I did some mental gymnastics with the color black. Here's what I was thinking. The color black attracts and absorbs the sun rays, right? I need the objects to absorb the energy from the herbs. See the correlation? Might be a stretch, but work with what you have. I then told each herb the reason I'm using them and what I need them to do for protection, because protection is way too vague. I focused on protection from the thoughts and will of other living people, and protection against my anxieties and my worries. These intentions I then infused in the objects themselves. I did use a blend of oils that I have made myself, and honestly I don't even remember what oils I put in them. But I do know that I infused those oils with the intention of protection, so that's why I use that in protection spells now. At the end, I sealed the deal with, of course, the double clap. Now, in the cut and edited and sped up version of this, it may not seem like it took that long, but as a beginner in the craft, it takes so long and so much to focus your energy and push it out. Honestly, it just took too long. I should have stuck with only one object. Now, tradition doesn't say how long you're supposed to leave that object in that pouch, but I've decided to go with 3 days because I like the number 3. Another use for the star water is to wash your face with it first thing in the morning on the 24th of June, and it is believed to give your skin a more youthful look. At the same time, if you wash your hands with it, it is believed to take away your joint pain. And I tried that. Can't say it worked much, but who knows, maybe a few years of doing this and I'll see some progress. Now, to go a bit more in the occult side of things, even though we've been technically talking about magical practices until now, the entire holiday is tied tightly to the Fae. Cinzienele are also a type of Fae in Romanian tradition. They're supposedly very beautiful women. In fact, their other name is frumoasele, which basically means the beautiful ones. They supposedly have wings, long hair, they're dressed in white, they wear all types of flowers, and they tend to go from forest to forest while dancing and singing. They're supposed to bless and protect the lands, the harvest, and marriages, but they can also punish people, supposedly people who are faithless or not righteous enough. In a way, the women wearing white and dancing in circle and singing is a way of honoring these fae and calling on to them so they can be blessed in return. Now, there's another side to this, and that is Rusaliile or Yelele, which is the name of the other holiday that this year happened to be on the 23rd. It's a holiday that does not have a set date, in Romania at least, because it follows the date of the Easter, which changes year to year. It's supposed to be on the 8th Sunday after Easter. Why I bring this up now is because Rusaliile or Yelele are also a type of fae, but they're known to be more evil spirits or even demonic spirits. Even though they have the exact same visual presentation as Zinzienele, they're even called the beautiful ones. They have wings, they're dressed in white, they wear flowers, and they have that long unbraided hair. Braids were very important because they actually signaled modesty, and having your hair freely meant that you are free to do whatever you want. However, these spirits, these fae, are believed to punish people and to have horrible effects on people. In fact, you shouldn't listen to their song, you shouldn't look at them, you shouldn't pass through the places that they've passed through, you shouldn't sit in the places where they've passed through. Why? Because you're going to become deathly ill and never recover. They will disfigure you. They will take away your limbs even. They will paralyze you. You will become blind if you watch them. You will become deaf if you listen to their song. And in fact, the only thing you can do if you happen to hear them coming is to lay down on your stomach, face down, cover your ears, close your eyes, and just wait for them to pass. They also punish the people, especially those who have worked during the holiday of Rusali. They come over to the person's house, they seduce them into beautiful dreams, and then they dance around their bed 3 times and eventually curse them. The person ends up being disfigured or paralyzed. They're associated with Rusali, which is the holiday of the flowers, the celebration of flowers. And historically, this particular holiday comes from the Romans, from Rosalia or Rosaria in the Roman Empire. It was a holiday where you would be celebrating the dead. You'd be bringing flowers to their graves, giving flowers to the dead. In Romanian tradition, this holiday has been taken over by the Christian Orthodox Church, and instead, the day before Rusali, on Saturday, we have what we call the Summer Elders. And this is the actual holiday when we celebrate the dead and we give offerings to the dead. These offerings generally include a food packet. It's basically like a mystery box of food offerings. And these packets you would give to other people outside of your family, whether they're strangers or friends, it doesn't really matter. It's believed that the enjoyment of that food and somebody else accepting that packet and eating that food would reach the dead, and they would be able to enjoy what you have given through the person enjoying the food that you have given. When receiving a packet like this, it's customary that you answer with Boda proste, which is a Bulgarian word meaning may God forgive them. Of course, you can also say may God forgive them or may God allow them to rest in peace. But Boda proste is just shorter. I don't celebrate by the rites of the Orthodox Church, so instead I decided to honor the holiday of Rusali according to Roman traditions. Now, I had no way of actually going to the graves of the dead to offer flowers, but I do have an altar dedicated to my ancestors. So I went into my garden, Well, actually, my parents' garden, you should not let me near flowers. I managed to almost kill a cactus and actually kill the plastic plant. So no flowers for me. But I picked up some flowers from the garden, arranged them, and left them in front of the altar that I have dedicated for my ancestors. Speaking of altars, actually the first thing I did for the summer solstice is to arrange an altar for the summer season. Sort of an altar, it's actually my workspace. I needed to actually hide what I'm doing because I am not out of the broom closet. Here's the problem. For me, summer is violent. Sure enough, it's also joy and laughter and very, very noisy now that I think about it. Children laughing and having fun and all that good stuff, and then you have parties at every street corner and there's all kinds of music coming from all sides, and then in the afternoon there's a storm and the booming thunder. Basically, the air during the summer vibrates continuously all the time. For me, summer is less sun and more fire, less cozy warmth and more roasting over a bonfire, and the bonfire is above you. It's less simple light and more lightning. And I think this is because of where I've lived all my life, at least for my childhood. I remember summer to be incredibly hot during the day, like you're cooking yourself outside during the day, but in the afternoon there would always be a storm coming for most of the middle of summer, I would say. So that remained ingrained in my head as the image of summer. Summer is more of an independent force, definitely a force that knows its strength, is not afraid to use it, but doesn't have to put in the effort for every little thing. It will come on when it wants to. Summer is fire, and it's loud, and it's violent, and it's authority. That's summer for me. So I decided to make an altar that portrayed that in a way, sort of, however much I managed to. My altar always has some dry herbs. Mugwort to help with my psychic abilities, lavender to keep me calm when my ancestors are roasting me every morning, and of course we cannot forget about the star of the show, Cinziene. June is also the season for collecting linden flowers to dry for tea. Linden flower tea is believed by Romanians to have lots of medicinal effects, and it also tastes great. I also added 2 tarot cards, the Sun and the Ace of Wands. These 2 are part of the Diablo deck. Here's the thing, I don't like Blizzard as a company. I honestly thought it might just be a deck inspired by the game, and I didn't realize I'm supporting them until I saw the logo on the back of the box. For a second, I hoped that the deck would be horrible and my sense of choosing decks had finally failed me. It didn't. The cards are amazing, and I will forever repent for my purchase. I never really cared much for roses before, but now I can connect so fast and so easily to them. But I have a really hard time connecting to my favorite flower, the royal lily. And here is the first painting I ever made. It was the first time I picked up a brush since 8th grade, and I just really wanted to paint a sunflower on fire. I don't even know why. This was a few years ago, and it turns out painting this is really difficult for somebody who has no idea what they're doing. And I never painted like this again. It turns out the sunflower is actually the second flower I was the most connected to after the rose. Thanks, ancestors. And that's actually a very interesting story that I'll leave for another time. Eventually I'll get to detailing how I connected to my ancestors. Speaking of ancestors, the night in between the 23rd and the 24th of June is believed to be the night where the gates open, where all the doors to the other world open. That's why we can interact with the Fae, and why we can do simple divination, and why we should honor the dead. On the 24th, you should offer food items to the dead. Traditionally, apples. And because the task of taking care of the dead, of the ancestry, usually fell on the women, on the elder women taking care of the house, the stay-at-home moms, they would not be allowed to eat apples before the dead would be allowed to. Now, lastly, we've talked about two of the influences, about the Roman influence and about the Orthodox Church. But there's a third one, and it's specific to the south of the country, and that is the Slavic influence. That's why in the south of the country, the summer solstice is no longer called Sânziene, but rather Drăgaica. All celebrations are generally the same, with one exception, and that is when the girls, now called Drăgaice, are dancing around in circles. They also carry with them the flag of Drăgaica, which is basically a cross on top of a 2 to 3 meter long pole. They dress up that cross like a doll, and they surround it with flowers and carry that cross while they're dancing. Another difference would be that married women sometimes give their kids to be carried by the girls while they're dancing. This is believed to bless the kids with good health. So knowing all this history, what else did I decide to do about this? Now, unfortunately, I couldn't go ahead and dance in circles with other people for the summer solstice because I don't have any friends to do that with. However, I can still dance alone for that exact purpose. In fact, this has been my preferred way of offering energy towards the spirits that I work with, and it's been effective until now, so I did it this time too, and I guess I'm gonna show parts of it without music though, because it is apparently copyrighted, so we'll have to watch a very awkward clip of me dancing with no music on it. Now, I didn't mean for this to be my first video, but you know, when inspiration strikes, this is the result. I'm not a folk witch or a traditional witch, and I don't think I'll ever be one, but I have decided to slowly learn some of the rituals and rites present in my culture because they're not exactly written down and they will eventually get lost because people don't really practice them anymore. This means that not everything I said is 100% correct. There's also so many variations of these traditions, it would be impossible to include them all. So while I don't have a deep connection to my culture, I can put some effort to learn a thing or two and maybe include some rituals into my practice a few times a year. And maybe this way I might be able to reach deeper into my ancestry line to those who have lived in times so far away, nobody remembers them through anything but these little traditions. So if you want to see me learn how to do witchcraft, or maybe you just want to be less lonely while you're trying to learn the craft just like I'm trying to do, or maybe you're just curious to see if I accidentally sell my soul to the devil and curse my entire lineage and the earth that they stand upon. Or maybe you want to amuse yourself with me trying to figure stuff out. Whichever it is, press the like, the subscribe, the bell, press all the buttons, and more importantly, comment. Tell me about it. Tell me if there's any traditions about the summer solstice that you still respect and practice. I'm very curious about that. And stay tuned for the next episode of Dragon... What should I call this?